Welcome back to another episode of Gulf Coast Investing, where we talk about all things investing right here on the Gulf Coast. My name is Casey, and I would love if you would like this video and hit the subscribe button to get more great content just like this. So, attention fellas, Valentine's Day is right around the corner. So, this is the last Friday, the last weekend before Valentine's Day, so make sure you're prepared to treat your ladies right. So, in light of Valentine's Day, I wanted to make a video actually at the recommendation of my wife. So we work together in our business, and we also work with our family in this business. So thought it'd be a good video to make given the season, talking about some best practices to work with family and more specifically with your spouse if you're working with your spouse in a business. So obviously not everybody wants to do that or can do that, but it's a dream. It was always a dream of ours for me not to have to go out and work a 9 to 5, or my wife not to have to go out and work a 9 to 5, that we can work together on a business. So there's a lot of highs. It also creates a little different dynamic because we're literally together 24/7. So wanted to talk about the different things and tips and advice to working with a loved one and working with your spouse. So the first one is communication. So as always, these are all 5 different C's. So the 5 C's of love is what I am calling it. So the first one is communication. So communication is key whether you're working with your spouse or not. You always want to communicate your highs, your lows, your struggles, what you're thinking. Sometimes it becomes even harder when you're working together 24/7 because you think you know what each other is thinking and doing, but sometimes it could be something else. So you never want to take that for granted. Make sure you always set aside date nights, whether it's going out or cooking in or things like that. Use that for this Valentine's Day weekend at some point. But you always want to have that level of communication where y'all are communicating and talking about your struggles, and also communication that doesn't have to do with the business. So communicating about personal lives and feelings and families and kids if you have kids and all that kind of stuff. So communication. So the second C is collaboration. So collaborating is sharing each other's struggles together. So even though we work together in the business, she heads up a lot of our marketing and advertising and events that we put on. I handle a lot of our big picture items, a lot of video advertising, networking, running different chamber events and or helping out at different chamber events and all that, plus dealing with the owners of the properties and all that we manage. So even though we work together, we both work in different areas of the business. So collaborating, sharing each other's struggles, helping each other out is a huge must. That way it's not, you got to treat different than somebody you work with at a 9 to 5 job where, oh, well, you're kind of on your own. That's what you get paid for. You do your job. I'm doing my job. Not the case when you're working with family, especially with your spouse. So, make sure you share each other's struggles and wins and losses and all that together. So the third C is community. So community when it comes to networking, going out, hanging out, not only for personal fun, but also for business fun. So want to look at 2 different sides of the community. So number 1 is making sure that you're going to and attending events together. So a lot of chambers and other groups and things like that may have once a month meetups and things like that for everybody to get together. It's always good to go together to those events. Obviously, you may have schedule conflicts and things like that, but I always like showing that we are a team. When we go to things, we are a team. It's both of us together. So I love going to community events and networking events together because it's always fun. Just like going to a wedding is always fun, going with a date. So going to networking events is always fun. It's kind of funny because my wife claims that she's on the shyer spectrum of things. But we go to these events, and of course I'm out eating or hanging out with friends, and she's all over the place networking with all her friends and girlfriends and all that. So fun going to things together, and then also with that going to things separately. So there's some certain educational events and certain things that I'm over that I do that just I go to, and then there's some things like last night she had a girls' Valentines party last night that just she went to. So not only to go to things together, but also to still to go things separate, not feel like you're having to be slammed, tied together 24/7. get out and do networking with your friends and all like that. I like to go play golf with my guy friends, which I'm looking forward to this afternoon. So, it's good to have a little mental break, not only in the fun and the relaxing realm, but also in the realm of business and networking and things like that. So approach your community together, approach it separately, and it just makes things awesome and so much better. So the 4C is compromise. So obviously, compromise is overall a term in marriage, that you use, pre-marriage counseling and all that, hey, comes times where you have to compromise things and that. So this aspect of it, I'm not necessarily talking about personal within your personal relationship. This is not personal relationship advice. It's more in the advice of business and all that. So again, as I said, my wife, she'll be a little shyer on things. I'm good with going to something, 3 nights a week, hanging out with friends, networking, going to business meetings, planning sessions, all that like that. Sometimes we have to compromise and say, okay, we did a lot of stuff this week. Let's take 1 or 2 of these off. Compromise back and forth, compromise what each other are working at and things like that. Again, in my mind, I like going 24/7. If you own your own business, you work 7 days a week, whether you like it or not. So, but you have to have that compromise, that time, and it goes back to communication where you say, hey, you know what, I could be doing this stuff, but hey, let's come together, let's go out for a walk for an hour, let's go on a date night, let's go like that. Hear each other out, again, goes with the communication, hear each other out, see where you can compromise to best work together, in those different areas. The 5th and final C, which is the most important C to me, is commitment. So again, this is not relationship or marriage advice, even though obviously, commitment is the biggest part of relationship and marriage advice. But talking about business relationships specifically, commitment is what it's all about. You have to make a commitment. You have to make a commitment before you go into business with your spouse and before you go into business with your loved ones that you're not going to let the business get in between or get in the way of your relationship, again, your spouse relationship or your family relationship. I always go back, you see those memes of the Orange County choppers, the motorcycle guy, and the dad and his son that had a big falling apart and all that together. I don't know how much of that is Hollywood drama or not. It seemed like it was pretty real back in the day, and you always see fights and all that. You don't want to have yourself in that spot. So what if you have a $1 billion business if you lose your family? At least in my opinion. I could be the richest person in the world, but if I lose my spouse and loved ones and all that because of business-related, disagreements and things like that, then what's the point? It's not worth it. It all comes down to relationships, families, and especially marriages in this context. So you have to be committed first. Have those talks before you get into business. Hey, I know that you're about to quit your 9 to 5 and join me. Let's set these boundaries. Let's set, where... if it gets to this certain point, then we're out of here, or we're going to do something different. We're going to make a change. You have to make that commitment on the front end, and then every single day be committed to the rest of the C's, to working together and communicating and compromising and all that. You have to make that commitment every single day if you want not only a healthy life and a healthy marriage and a healthy family life, but also if you want a healthy business. You have to make that commitment every single day. So I hope that these 5 C's help resonate with you. Again, make sure you make that commitment to your spouse and to your family. They're the most important things, is having those relationships in any business or money in the world. So make sure you check these out, look them over, have a talk with your spouse and with your loved ones that you're in business with, even if you're not in business with them, and say, hey, how can we work on these things? Fellas, again, make sure Valentine's Day is coming up. Don't miss out, and we'll see you next week.